It is rolling. Is it hating?
Probably.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Planet FPL, the world where everything revolves around Euro 2024 for one last time, James.
Suj.
My name's Suj.
You're in the studio. My name's James.
We're here. I came home. I was going to take a photograph on Thursday at the airport and say, I'm coming home, but I just didn't want to do it.
Is it true that you only came back here on the off chance that England won the Euros? Is that why you're here?
It is factually incorrect that I only came back on the off chance that England won the Euros. I came back because we went on a work trip to Amsterdam, which was fun. Wasn't it, Nico? You had a good time.
So have you just been touring Portugal, Netherlands, England, trying to find somewhere?
Thursday I went from Portugal to England, then Friday England to Holland, Netherlands. Then Sunday came back. Tomorrow I go back to Portugal. All these nations are just losers anyway.
You've just been trying to go through as many countries as possible. I
might go to Spain and just be a champion and a winner because they did win in the end yesterday. I think
deservedly so.
The biggest disappointment, I guess, ultimately, it probably played out exactly as we thought in so many ways.
No, I didn't think we'd score.
When we went 1-0 down, I did think we would score because I thought we would have to throw the kitchen sink at a little bit and eventually you get a chance that I thought England would take. But I did see it going to extra time, but obviously that last late goal, 86 minutes to concede, was sickening. I think both the goals were like, I mean, I've seen my club side concede so many goals in the first 5 minutes of the second half this season where you're like, you just come out and you're not at it, or you don't come out alert, you can get stung. And I feel like England would feel defensively that they're better than that.
Can we do the 2 seconds on fantasy so I can just bin it?
Well, I can do my 2 seconds. I know that I decided to go blanket England defence, blanket Spanish attack. And obviously the defence flopping is a big problem there. I captained Bukayo Saka. I just felt like, where's the story in my team that could be the redemption of, and Saka comes back to score a winner and lift the trophy, and he's the hero. So I decided to just go with Saka because the only other option I was going to go with is Lamar. It's the other story of 17-year-old now wins the trophy, breaking Pele's record and all that stuff. So I ended up going with Saka, flopped. My full English defence flopped. I did have Nico Williams and Lamar, but so did we all.
Yeah, pretty much.
No one had Alathar.
Sorry?
Alathar.
Well, this is great. No one can pronounce his name, so we can just bin it in the river.
Razabal.
Yeah, him. Yeah, thank you, Nico. Cheers. 47 points for me. Finished 16k overall. Captain Danny Olmo. Largely went blanket Spain. No one cares. Let's talk about the football.
What about your Telegraph, by the way? Did you do all right in that?
I finished 14th.
Not bad, eh?
14th.
Not bad.
I knew, ironically, I really went heavy on Spain in it. When they conceded against Georgia and then conceded against Germany, I knew I couldn't win it.
Right.
If they'd have kept clean sheets in those 2 games, I might have won it.
Might have. Yeah,
maybe. Would have been close.
Fine margins as always.
Any case, how are we feeling this morning? Firstly, let's do the congratulations Spain bit, because they thoroughly deserve the best team in the tournament. With the best team last night, no complaints.
Yeah, I would agree. I don't think they're as good as the team with Xavi and Iniesta and Busquets and all of those guys. I think that was a better team. But I think with this Spain team, I mean, the average age and the youth within that, and then the likes of Pedri and Gavi not even being on the pitch, they've got talent galore at such a young age. I think defensively they were there to be got at, and I don't think we did go after them, unfortunately. I think there's a bit of criticism around Kane and what he was able to do, but I think defensively they were there to be got at. But in terms of composure and ability on the ball, I think we look at our players and we laud them quite rightly because they do very well in the Premier League, the likes of Fodens and Sakas and stuff. And they're very talented players in the Premier League. I think in this style of football, sometimes the composure on the ball and the ability to find a pass and receive, I don't think we're there at the level of Spain. I think in certain technical elements of the game, we get found out. If that game last night had turned into a Premier League style game, end to end, a little bit more fast paced and more action, I think we would have done a lot better and Spain would have struggled more. But in a slower paced game, they just seem to have more composure on the ball. They seem to find the passes more consistently than when we do. And that's a higher level of technical ability, I think, with some of their young players than I think we have. It's frustrating. But I think at pace, sometimes we're better. Like when it comes to all action, we are talented, but not in this style of football. It got found out. Shame.
Except we didn't have that much pace in the team.
We didn't use it. Is more the point. We didn't use it. Every time Saka picked up the ball at Bellingham and they check, I'm like, you're in the final third. You should be driving forward or trying to take your man on or move forward, not checking back and going sideways and slow build-up play. It's not what we're good at. It's not what the Premier League's about. Who does it in the Premier League other than City, who dominate the ball, or Arsenal, who dominate the ball for 70, 80% possession? But we weren't. We were at 35% at half-time, weren't we? Give or take a couple of pips. So
it was the first half was a tough watch. It was what I expected to watch. Actually, I was pretty pleased at halftime in the extent that they had created nothing.
Yeah,
really.
As good as they were with possession, I didn't think, neither keeper's been particularly troubled. Obviously, by the end of the match, you could argue Jordan Pickford was our man of the match, to be honest with you. But by half-time, for all their domination, they didn't create. And when we did turn the heat up a little bit, we did have a few chances, or there were openings to be had. But half-time was it was cagey. That first half was just, no one wants to lose more than anyone wants to win, which quite often is the case in a final, right?
Yeah, and I think Spain had the patience to know they would find their moments. They did something quite cute in the second half, in the sense of, obviously they lost Rodri.
Yeah.
And I think all of us thought at that moment, oh, hello. You couldn't help but think that, particularly because of his record as well.
Yeah.
They dropped Ruiz in a little bit deeper, and they moved Yamal off the flank into more central zones, and they scored straight away. From the first time, their first action of play in that, they scored the goal. And when Yamal cuts inside, so Luke Shaw gets caught out because Yamal goes into a zone he doesn't expect him to go into. It's right at the start of the half. When Yamal's running across the pitch, you're like, oh, this is a goal. You can see it coming. And that was the first time we'd got ourselves into duress. But I never fancied us to get back into it from there. And the 20 minutes that followed Spain's opening goal was so grim. So grim. The inquest has to be, why is the disparity in style of football so big? That's the inquest. And it might be an inquest that goes on for a really long time. I remember when we lost to Italy in 2012 on penalties, afterwards, people for a long time sitting down like, why is the style of football so different? When you look at the 11 versus the 11, there's not huge amounts in it between the two teams. But the way the two teams play is ginormously different. For England's, it's the ability to play out through the back and play through pressure. Spain have not just been the best football team in this tournament, been the best team off the ball in terms of their pressing at the top end.
How much do you put down to just the leagues are different? So the football they're playing and being coached on a month-to-month, week-to-week basis at their clubs is different because the pressures of the Premier League are different to La Liga and so on and so on.
Yeah, but within that, Cucurella, Rodri.
I was going to say, how many of those players don't play in the Premier League? In their local league. So Spanish players that don't play in the Spanish league.
The two England attacking players who looked the most shot in terms of fitness yesterday, Kane and Bellingham, don't play in the Premier League.
No, not anymore.
So how much of an influence is that? It's that ability to have something that can absorb pressure and be able to play through lines to make teams think twice about pressing. Because even like, excuse me, Slovakia in around the 16 were like, yeah, we're going to go and press you really hard. We fancy this. So it's not an individual criticism of, say, Declan Rice or Kobe Minu individually. You want something to sit deeper. A lot of people talking about Adam Wharton again this morning. That type of profile player you can play it into and absorb and then move off and play from there. And the irony is, I think we did end up playing with a lot of the players that we wanted in the team, but weren't necessarily suitable for each other. Like, I don't know how good Kane and Bellingham is as a partnership.
I agree with you.
Both need speed around them.
Definitely agree with you on that. In terms of, are we picking the best player? Like, are the players as good as we think they are? Like Phil Foden, for example, technically hugely gifted, does amazing things in the Premier League. Would he walk into that Spanish team?
In my opinion, would be yes.
Where?
probably in the 10 position. I think Dani Olmo's a very good
Yeah,
player.
Dani Olmo is their second choice. Or third choice, would you say?
I hear that.
Had Pedri been playing,
injured,
Gavi, I don't know if Dani Olmo would even get into the team had any of these guys been fit necessarily or what have you. So, and I look at it and I'm like, does Kane walk into that team? Probably ahead of Morata, but then would he have done much better than Morata?
No, I think Morata
so.
did a great job throughout. I know strikers get judged on their goals. I thought Morata did a really good job throughout the whole tournament for Spain, actually, to link it.
Have we been blinded by... hindsight, I hate being a hindsight merchant. All the takes after, should Kane have played or Watkins? I hate being a hindsight merchant. So whenever I give kind of hindsight opinions, it's not designed to be a criticism of mistakes made, but it's questions I suppose we should ask. But I do think like we've got certain players in there that have superstar status from an England point of view or English football point of view, that whether or not like Kyle Walker, for example, rapid, right? And there were a couple of occasions where we saw his speed, but his final ball delivery sometimes is pretty shocking.
And positioning.
So, yeah, and that's gotten worse over time, I would say. So
no, his positioning, I can assure you, has got a lot better. Believe it or not, it really has.
You had him at Spurs. But like Trippier on the right instead of Kyle Walker, would it have been better or worse? Like I've still maintained I would rather have played Cole Palmer than Phil Foden throughout the majority of the tournament, just because of how good he is as opposed to anything with Phil Foden. We saw with Ollie Watkins when he came on, just the dynamism. Suddenly it was just a whole different dimension to what we had in attack. And Kane, I can't criticise him. You can't say that he hasn't had a good season and doesn't deserve to be there. But are we picking these players because of their superstar status when taking a step back and just saying what's the best 11 together rather than the best 11 individuals would come out with a different outcome? People were talking a lot about missing Gordon and his dynamism.
Yeah, Kane certainly would have been better off, me and Clayton spoke about it, in the build-up to the final, would have been a lot better off having someone like Anthony Gordon in the team, no doubt about it. We can play it into him and he knows he's got a pass out wide that he can thread in behind for someone. But you'd have to look at, I think, particularly, almost of all the players, Harry Kane's performances and reflect afterwards and go, was he ever fit?
Well, again, why do we push players through injury in that way? I don't remember a time when there was a runner beyond Kane yesterday. You're talking about Gordon would get beyond. I don't remember Saka being in a position to receive the ball beyond Kane or Bellingham getting beyond Kane. No, I mean, I suppose we didn't have the ball enough, but Gordon would have tried to do that, definitely. And yeah, it was frustrating. I don't think Spain, from a defensive point of view, did anything spectacularly to keep us out. I just think we lacked that impetus to take the game to them a little bit.
How do we feel emotionally about it?
It's more like, it feels like a reality check.
Yeah,
it feels like a reality check. We exceeded expectations.
Did we?
Yeah, I think so. Getting to a final, I didn't think I expected us to get to a final. Maybe not a style of play, but in terms of outcome.
No, but
when the draw opened up, yes, we got to where we should have. And if Spain were the better team, I think we exceeded expectations because with the style of play, I thought we wouldn't get to the final. But on the way that the draw was, we should have got to the final. After the group stages, the amount of grief the players were getting and the manager was getting, I think, has quietened down a bit. I'd say that there's a 50-50 split on people wanting Southgate to stay. I think there's plenty that want him to stay for the
Is that
World
how
Cup.
you see it?
From the phone-ins and stuff, I would say 50-50, maybe 60-40 to leave.
I'm surprised. I think nearly everybody I speak to would change now. Including one young lady outside the pub last night told me she wanted Harry Redknapp to take over. This is real.
I
left her talking to my dad.
Fair play. I think I can understand it, but I think a lot of people are like, look, he's built a togetherness, he's built a squad. They're going in a certain direction to change now. Would he do any better at the World Cup in 2 years? Like, I don't think we've got any better a chance in 2 years than we have now. There's going to be better teams still than us in that tournament.
I think it's right for him to stand down.
8 years is a long time.
And certainly there's no way the FA would want to remove him. Like if Gareth...
If he said, I'm going to stay, he'll stay.
Yeah, then he stays. He stays. I think he's earned whatever people may think of the tactics, etc. I think he's earned the right to make the decision. I think he has an awareness that a lot of people would like him to to change. And I think probably going into this, there was a lot of reports going into the Slovakia game, like, this will be the end of him. This will be his last tournament, irrespective. I just wonder if, I think he did the right thing last night, being kind of non-committal, even if he maybe has decided already in his head that he's going to stand down. Just reflect on it afterwards, because he might have that burning desire now to think, yes. But also, I think you spoke about reality check. If we generally want to look ahead to 2026, I don't know why anybody does right now, we are struggling, I think, to foresee us winning that tournament now.
Yeah, we'll have a good go, quarters, maybe even semis, no problem. I think we've got enough talent to do that.
Our enthusiasm for this tournament is less now than it was before this tournament started.
Even though we got to the final.
And I think that speaks volumes.
There are a few standouts. I think Pickford did well yesterday. He's got to give him a bit of credit. A couple of really good stops. Could he have done better on the goals? I'm not so sure. Don't put definitely not the second one. Don't put a lot of blame on him. But he did pull us out a couple. I thought Pickford has been good. Gahey, I've had people in some WhatsApp groups saying that they thought he was our player of the tournament. I don't know if I'd go that far.
He had one moment, he made a block last night, and I thought it was so good that he proper lost his shit with people.
Yeah.
And he comes across quite cool and calm. It's like, no, like almost like he'd felt he'd earned that leadership moment that he could then have with his teammates. I think, Mark Gay was a real plus.
Gay's a standout, I think, as well. Kobe Mino, he worked his way into the team, and we saw what he can bring alongside Declan Rice. I thought that was a partnership that we'll build and we will develop on for sure. I still go back to Cole Palmer. I just think there's something about his ability on the ball when he receives it that just absorbs pressure or finds space or looks for that killer pass. A couple of through balls that he tried to thread through and stuff. And you're like, no one else is doing that. I think we have to find a way of getting him into that team, because I think he's a real standout.
He's also a very good one to use late in games.
Yeah, I get that. I get that. And I can't argue otherwise, but we haven't seen it from the start for him. So there were definitely a few standouts that kind of came through. I thought Ollie Watkins as well. He's not a young player anymore. He's experienced, but what he can offer is quite different to what we had with Kane moving forwards. There were performances within that I thought, actually, you know what, you've done well. The way we handled the penalty shootout, but it's bits of rather than any consistent the whole team.
Yeah. Whatever comes next for England, whether it's Southgate or whether it's Potter or it's someone else, is now manufacturing, I think, the next layer of what England needs to be. So I think it's easy to sit here now and go, almost feels like a failure. We've lost in a final, it feels like a failure. And go back 6 years or 8 years and to Iceland, I think if you'd had this moment. So I feel like we've come a long way. Even when you look at ball retention last night's not good, but our ball retention against weaker opponents has improved massively. I do feel like we've had a real step forward. I actually think if we reflect on the last World Cup, we enjoyed watching England. Mm-hmm. Felt we were unlucky against France. Played well in the games before that by USA. This actually felt like a step backwards, this tournament, despite reaching the final. We got through on moments. Jude's bicycle kick, penalties, Ollie Watkins' goal against the Netherlands. The Netherlands game, we actually played really well first half. We got through on moments rather than anything great as a team particularly. Agree, yeah. And the next stage now is to how to convert. We've moved from a team that couldn't keep the ball to now we can keep the ball against Spain's an elite opponent, right? I think if we'd have played a France last night or a Portugal or a similar team, we wouldn't have struggled to keep the ball as much as we did last night. Spain, in terms of off the ball, were extraordinary, I think. But we need to find that next layer now of how we just stop being, okay, we've evolved, we can pass the ball to each other now. How do we do it fluidly? How do we actually really go into a game and feel like we're not inferior to an opponent like Spain? Mm-hmm. If we play Spain in 2 years, we just continue like this, the same shit is going to happen. And I think it'd be similar if we play like a Brazil or an Argentina or some of the really good technical South American teams as well, which is obviously an absence from this particular tournament. And there's going to be some big calls, I think, to try and get this moulded into a team. Who, if Southgate is replaced, that Harry Kane needs to be a serious conversation here. Mm-hmm. He's captain of the football team. Maybe he's unfit. Maybe that's the excuse on this tournament. But you'd have to look and say, okay, is Ollie Watkins a better player than Harry Kane? No. Might he be better for this team going forward? Yes. How good is Phil Foden? Amazing. Is he going to be the best for this team going forward if you want to integrate Cole Palmer and certainly keep Saka in the team? Where does that leave Jude? How do we get a press-resistant midfield player like Adam Wharton into this team? How do we play through lines better defensively? What's going to happen to the likes of Cole Walker? I mean, Cole Walker and Kieran Trippier, I presume, are probably both going to retire from international football. So eventually we're going to get Trent in the team. Or is Reece James going to make a remarkable comeback?
Maybe for a couple of games.
We need to get some pace into this team because I think England are quite easy to defend against. So that's, yes, someone like Anthony Gordon. I think in hindsight, Southgate probably would, considering how little he used Gordon, I think we all thought the big regret all the way through was left back. I wonder now how much he regrets not taking someone like Rashford, who on his form last season didn't deserve to go, but has got the experience and still the explosiveness that pins people in.
Yeah, he gets the ball, he runs.
Even the goal last night, Watkins has no involvement in the goal in terms of touching the ball, but they're worried. That's what pushes them back. And let Saka run and Bellingham join in and Palmer come onto it because Watkins is pushing them back, whereas Kane wasn't. Kane was easier to defend for them. That's a big thing to say now, especially for me, who obviously knows Harry really well and have watched him so much. You're not going to be a really good pressing team with him in the team. So if that's what England want to become, if they want to copycat this with Spain, Harry Kane being a part of that going forward is not the solution. Certainly in the big moments against an opponent like that.
Do you think Graham Potter's the solution then?
No. Probably pick up the phone to Jurgen Klopp was probably
a better
idea.
Yeah.
I think we shouldn't be obsessed with the idea of English.
Yeah.
Actually. And listen, Gareth, as we've discussed so many times, has been an amazing representation of us. I think he's changed how we feel about the team over these 8 years. That's why I kind of want him to go as well now, because I don't want it to become like... I can see it being a failure in 2 years, and I don't want it to be a pilloring of, he's got to go.
Yeah.
It's been a good 8 years, thank you.
The evolution of the squad, the team togetherness, how we feel about them is clearly better. We do get hyperbolic and moan. Sorry for being moany bastards, but that's what happens. But I do think we're in such a better position than we were 8 years ago. So
100%, and we shouldn't forget that. We've had a really good 8 years, and I'm very thankful to him. Me and Clayton were discussing it on our Patreon pod earlier, one of our Patreon pods, like wanting him to win it as much as almost feeling it for ourselves. I felt he deserved it, Gareth. Yeah, people say tactics, all that's fine. He's helped lift this nation and give the people largely a team that they could support and believe in. Mm-hmm. After Iceland, it was so on the floor, and he started to turn that around. I think it's inevitable if he stands down, it'll probably be Potter.
Okay.
Which could be really good and interesting tactically. It's also going to do people's heads in quite a lot in terms of side-to-side stuff. Mm-hmm. Chelsea and Brighton fans will both tell you that. There will be a lot of, it will feel at times, I think, like possession for sake of possession. But in terms of tactical stuff, yeah, there's a layer beyond Southgate that he may be able to implement. But I can visualise now, 2 years from now, we'll get beat by someone and go, why did he do that? And we'll have difficulty explaining it. But I think if Gareth steps down, that's an inevitability of who it will be. And the team feels like it needs to freshen up now, which is surprising when there's so many young players, isn't it?
I mean, Kane, Walker. I mean, Luke Shaw did fine considering how little he played. I can't criticise Luke Shaw now. He was out. John Stones is still young enough. I don't know, other than Kane and Carl Walker, who needs to move on from an age point of view. I wouldn't say many of the others.
Pace is an exponent that people really dislike. And I think the ability of having that in the team will create better space for people like Jude Bellingham, Foden, Cole Palmer in the future. That's what Watkins changed, was that pushing back a backline to have that little bit of space behind. Because otherwise they're all on each other's feet. Mm. You'd have to look at it realistically and say Jude Bellingham is going to be a part of this team going forward. Of
course, and so you should be.
Right. Harry Kane is probably not a good partner for him.
Okay.
I also don't subscribe to the idea of just playing Jude Bellingham deeper. Mm-hmm. I really, really don't. So there's a choice to be made. Because otherwise it's going to be the same shite in a couple of years. And we shouldn't be sitting here reaching the final going, same shite. But it kind of feels that way. It feels flat. I don't think any of us truly believed we'd win yesterday. Did you?
No. I mean, obviously, as you get closer and closer towards the game, the hype that's on the radio and TV and stuff kind of gets you going a little bit. But no, there was no point at which I truly believed we were going to win.
I didn't even celebrate the goal, I thought Saka was offside in the
Okay.
build-up.
No, I didn't think he was offside. I thought that was a good goal.
I was hoping Razabel was offside as well, but it wasn't.
Nah. Oh, well.
Disappointing. Hard to do this podcast now because you don't even want to particularly talk about it, I don't think.
No, we just put it in the rearview mirror. But a small amount of pride. Like we equipped ourselves well. We got to the final.
There's pride that we reached it, but it's also okay at the same time to say, well, on what we had on our side of the draw, that's what we should have achieved. Pre-tournament, we said, if we lose to France in the semi-final, does that mean this is a failure? And you go, well, no, it's France. If Mbappe has his day, Mbappe has his day. But once the draw unfolded, it was like, yeah, we've got to reach the final now. And then I don't think we were better off for getting to the final having not played anyone of serious quality in the build-up to it.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you.
Spain was a different level from anything that we'd played.
For sure.
They were deserving winners.
Switzerland were pretty good. But
yeah, Switzerland were the best thing we played outside of Spain. But that's worlds apart.
Okie dokie. Well, let's stop talking about it. You know what official FPL towers have been doing since last week, Thursday, Friday, James? The old price reveal.
I'm so motivated for that as well.
So the world can start revolving around Fantasy Premier League soon. Not sure yet when. Give us a chance to just recover from yesterday. But at some point soon, we reckon the game will open and we'll get back to talking about that nonsense. But yeah, another season's ready to rock and roll.
I think it's probably going to launch Wednesday, I think.
Yeah. I mean, we're really good at predicting when games launch.
I'm very reluctant, as I said to Suj this morning, I'm very reluctant to go, let's talk about bench boost game week 1 when we don't even know if they're going to change chips or anything like that.
Let's wait and see what happens with it. But yeah, there's going to be plenty of content at you all week. So make sure wherever you're listening to the podcast, you're subscribed because you'll get notified as soon as it goes live. Clates will be back with you tomorrow. Yes. I'll be travelling back to Portugal tomorrow.
Safe travels.
Yeah, indeed. So,
say hello to the Spanish on your way.
Well, I'm not going via. But I think their relationship with the Spanish is not the best anyway. So
they would have each other, no?
No. I think the Spain-Portugal relationship is like the English-Irish relationship.
Okay.
Is that right, Nico? Would you agree? Like Spain look down on Portugal as like, we're the running stereotypical
I don't look down
joke.
on the Irish.
No, but the joke was that Irish people were not the most intelligent. Is the stereotypical. I think.
How Spain think of Portugal?
Yeah, Spain think Portugal are like stupid cousins as opposed to anything else.
Right.
They do look down. So Portugal obviously don't like Spain. Would you say that's true, Nico? Yeah, that's correct. So,
Nico said
that's why
correct.
Portugal would rather have England have won than Spain for sure yesterday. So it'll be going back to more disappointment.
I'm sure many of the Irish, the Scottish and the Welsh are quite happy today.
The Spain one, yes. There we go.
I saw some video knocking about from a club in Dublin and they were playing like Spanish music and stuff. Proper having a party.
Nice. Listeners, thank you so much for your support. Stay tuned. Back at you all week with content. And if you keep an eye on X at Planet FPL Pod, James will post a schedule soon enough. Stay safe. Ciao for now.
Yeah, football's not home. Unfortunately, again, kids. Cue music, please. Man child.